Chainsaw Man the movie is in theaters now, and I, for one, can't wait for Chainsaw Man to cross over with the Lawnmower Man in the Yardworks cinematic universe. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell here with my review of Chainsaw Man the movie Reze arc, which is a continuation of the anime show Chainsaw Man, which I actually watched this week. It's 12 episodes, they're less than half an hour long. It's not a bad catch-up. If you're unfamiliar with the manga or the anime series Chainsaw Man, very briefly, the story is about Denji, a 16-year-old who starts the show working for the Yakuza hunting devils, which are basically monsters. He has a pet devil named Pochita, which I would describe most accurately as a chainsaw dog. Pochita has thus far only appeared corporeally in 1 or 2 episodes of Chainsaw Man at the very beginning, but I can say without reservation that I would kill for Pochita. He is by far the cutest chainsaw devil / dog hybrid that I've ever seen, and I'm not just saying that because I've only ever seen one chainsaw devil / dog hybrid. After Denji is killed by the Yakuza, Pochita revives him by merging his body with Denji's and replacing Denji's heart, which allows Denji to turn his head and limbs into chainsaws by pulling a string that comes out of his chest, turning him into a fierce and basically immortal fighter. Listen, this is an anime show. You're either going to go with it or you're not. Denji starts working as an official devil hunter alongside a bunch of other hunters, many of whom have made deals with devils to gain special powers in exchange for things like their body parts or part of their lifespan. If this sounds a little bit like Demon Slayer, I assure you that the similarities are purely superficial because instead of being motivated by saving his sister and possibly humanity from being ruled by demons for all of time, Denji is mostly motivated by food and sex. There is an entire multi-episode arc in Season 1 of Chainsaw Man where Denji fights a devil purely because he's promised that if he beats the devil, he can touch the boobs of his partner on the Devil Hunters squad. You know, it became very obvious to me pretty early on just why this show is particularly popular among a young male audience. Sometimes it's hard to figure out if this is an anime show about a horny 16-year-old or if this is a horny anime show about a 16-year-old. I guess the answer to that question is, why not both? So the main quest of the entire story is to find the Gun Devil, who is the series' big bad, but we don't make a whole lot of progress toward that in this movie particularly. The movie is mainly about Denji pursuing a romance with his boss, Miss Makima, who he's had a crush on since the beginning of the show, but things get complicated when he meets Reze, an animaniac pixie dream girl who's into him and wants to do things like kiss and go skinny dipping. As you can imagine, and I can't underscore this enough, desperately horny Denji suddenly finds himself torn between his old crush and his new crush. All of this coincides with the arrival of the Bomb Devil, a powerful new enemy who, like all of the villains so far, wants Denji's heart for reasons that are still basically unknown, at least if you're watching the show. So much of the second half of the film features an all-out battle royale between Denji, the Devil Hunters, and the Bomb Devil as they are all pushed to their limits. I'd heard of Chainsaw Man when it originally aired back in 2022. A lot of people left comments saying that I should check it out, but I really didn't know much about the show beyond the premise. I mean, Chainsaw Man, the art, it seems pretty obvious, at the very least, who the hero of this show is. And I have to say that I enjoyed the first season. I think that Denji is a complicated protagonist in that he's very uncomplicated. He has no real loyalty or motivation other than wanting to eat and wanting to get laid the first time. But I do see signs through this first season and now the movie of an arc happening, and I also enjoy the supporting characters on the show, especially Power, who is Denji's partner. She's a human-devil hybrid called a fiend, and she's basically chaos personified. And I really like Aki, a devil hunter who knows that he only has 2 years left to live and approaches his job with stoic sincerity. Sometimes supporting characters make a show just as much as the main characters. Chainsaw Man is in its own way a teen romance story, and I found that Denji's romance with Reze is different than what we've seen before in that she's not a co-worker. She seems much closer to his actual age. They have more in common, and she's actually interested in him, which is good. Of course, things get more complicated as the story goes on, but his and Reze's relationship is less of a sex romp than we've seen with Denji's other attempted conquests. And as is common in anime, the Bomb Devil is an escalation when it comes to the main villain, more powerful than anybody that we've seen Denji or the Devil Hunters fight before. And if you watch the channel, you know that I'm not a massive anime fan and that I haven't watched a whole lot. I've seen all of Attack on Titan. If you've seen my reviews here on the channel, you know that I'm a big fan of Demon Slayer, and Chainsaw Man is one of very few anime shows that I have gotten into, mainly because it was a very low barrier to entry. It took me basically half a day to watch the first season, and then to go and watch this movie was another afternoon. Chainsaw Man isn't what I would call the deepest of the anime shows that I've watched, but I think it's still enjoyable. And like I said, it's the secondary characters that I found go through most of the angst in the show, and I particularly like Aki, who's going through a constant existential crisis and has to actually grapple with the issues of life and death that Denji largely ignores. Denji is an avatar for the younger audience, and that's fine, but I think that it's pretty smart to also include somebody for the older audience that's maybe, like me, a little less connected to the motivations of a 16-year-old. Reze arc is a fairly self-contained story in telling the story of Denji and Reze and the Bomb Devil while still inching us along the overall storyline. I have not read the manga. I don't know what happens in the story. Much like Demon Slayer, I'm preferring to watch the show as it goes along. So there are still mysteries in the story that I'm interested in, including what's going on with Miss Makima, who is a highly mysterious figure, and I'm still not really sure why the Gun Devil wants Denji's heart so much. We don't get any real answers to these questions in the movie, but I didn't expect any. These are answers that will really start rolling in when Chainsaw Man Season 2 is released, which, if it follows anime standards, will be anytime between 2 and 7 years from now. MAPPA, the animation studio behind the film, also brought us the final season of Attack on Titan and has another big hit, Jujutsu Kaisen, which is currently in production. I think the animation in the movie is well done, and it's fitting for the big screen. It doesn't just feel like you're watching a TV show in a movie theater. And even if I might not relate to Denji as much as I might have when I was younger, I kind of respect how simple his motivations are. Overall, I thought that Reze arc was an entertaining chapter in this story, although I would recommend not going in cold. I think it would be fully appreciated if you spend that half day to catch up on Season 1 of Chainsaw Man and then go see the movie. Also, just as an FYI, because I like to put these disclaimers in my anime reviews, after doing some research online, I decided to watch both the series and the movie in the English dubbed version I read, and they said that it was a good dubbed version, and I agree. I still enjoyed the show. So if you are looking for feedback on dub versus sub, I can say that I enjoyed the dub. I have not seen the sub, although history says that many people will say that the sub is better, or at least as good. So on my personal scale, I'm giving Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze arc, a rating of it's good. Like I said, it was enjoyable, and especially if you're a fan of the show, I think that you'll really like it. So those are my thoughts on the Chainsaw Man movie. What do you think? Have you already seen it in theaters? Are you planning to see it this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, stay tuned right here for the latest in movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.